Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
I'm a cleaning lady, a single mom with 3 kids, and an IQ north of 160. So helping the cops solve a murder, it's literally the easiest part of my day.
ABC Tuesdays. Fall's most anticipated drama is all new, High Potential.
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
Caitlin Olsen is the new face of investigation.
You're a single mom pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential. All new Tuesdays, 10/9 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Liz Gonzalez from South San Francisco, California. Liz will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Simone Paget, and these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspire their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent, SVU, or Original Recipe. But today, we're looking at Law & Order Toronto, Criminal Intent, Season 1, Episode 6, Minnow and the Shark.
Hillbreds and Best Bets are in cahoots. They're gouging their customers.
If one of them jacks up their price too fast, they lose market share to the other, so they move in lockstep.
A secret agreement, no contact, no phone calls, no email, nothing for the Competition Bureau to find.
Joining me to do just that is true crime author and host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can't Make This Up podcasts, Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Kevin.
And rounding out our panel is our special guest from Canada and from the We're Never Doing This Again podcast, it's Simone Paget. Hello, Simone.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, we didn't have like a long list of Canadian friends. We have some, but which like who do we know that likes Law and Order, is from Canada, and owns a microphone? And you were at the top of the list.
Real life Canadian.
Yes.
So you are a sex, relationship, and travel writer, as well as a podcaster. In your work recently, you've embraced being single without children in your 40s, and you urge similar folks to embrace it as well. And I must know, are childless cat ladies a problem in Canada too?
Oh, yeah, we're just everywhere. And we're planning to rise up to support our American childless cat lady friends.
It's a cabal. It totally is. I also have to ask, have the sex resorts bounced back from the pandemic?
They have. Well, I went to one before Christmas, but it actually closed 2 weeks after I visited there, so I didn't really have to write about it. I wrote about it anyways, but yeah, it was not a great one. Mm-hmm. There was some problems.
Probably that's why it closed.
Well, they painted the pool yellow. Like the bottom of the pool yellow. So it looked like you were in one of the pools, like you were swimming in urine. It was just really weird. Yeah, it was not sexy. So.
But you don't want to yuck someone's yum on the golden shower pool, but all right.
there was not a soul like in it or near it.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So Simone, remind us of all the franchises. Which two cops are your favorite Law and Order detective team?
Favorite Law and Order detective team.
I'm going to go with like classic Benson and Stabler.
Good pick.
Sexy pick.
Sexy pick, yes.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you'd be okay if you saw Christopher Maloney in one of those yellow bottom pools, all right?
I mean, if he was in the pool, I might be tempted to go in.
Mm-hmm. You could put your feet in, kick, splash on the sides.
Or warn him to get out and go to a different pool.
Be standing by with a towel. Mm-hmm. That would be perfect. That would be perfect. And who's your favorite prosecutorial team?
Favorite Law and Order District Attorney Prosecutorial Team.
Alex Cabot, she was a prosecutor
yep.
before. Yeah, then she went kind of like rogue and
became a crusader for the downtrodden.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, but I liked her when she was a prosecutor.
Yeah, she could really
prosecute.
She could prosecute
with
the
those
case.
glasses.
That's right.
And be judgy.
Be judgy. Yeah, she knew their type. All right, let's take a look at the first half of this episode. Law and Order Toronto, Criminal Intent, Season 1, Episode 6, Minnow and the Shark. Well, we start with a whirlwind of exposition criminal intent style. There's an older man at a payphone telling a sketchy guy he's got to get it done. A young woman gives that sketchy guy a bag of something. There are protesters throwing eggs at a supermarket CEO and her bodyguard, and the COO tells her family she's got a late-night meeting. Then there's a different sketchy guy waiting in a diner, but in the parking lot, the COO is grabbed by the first sketchy guy and injected with something. And the next morning, her body is discovered in her car at a park, made to look like a suicide.
She was found by a dog walker. Looks like a suicide, but the boss wanted you guys anyways.
Because of her fingers?
What about her fingers?
Well, her right thumb is on top. Almost nobody clasps their hands that way. It feels unnatural. So maybe somebody positioned her after death.
Specialized Crime Investigations Unit detectives Henry Graff and Frankie Bateman learned Zoe Vaughn was the COO of supermarket chain Best Bets. Medical examiner Lucy De Silva says that the pills she took were shoved down her throat and she was injected with a dog tranquilizer. GPS data shows Zoe stopped at a diner but never went inside. The detectives locate the animal hospital and the vet assistant who sold the tranquilizer to Sean Grierson. A raid of Grierson's home turns up $150,000 in cash, but unfortunately, it's Canadian money, so it's only really like $110,000. So the guy who'd been waiting inside the diner is a private eye who says Zoe wanted him to tail a prominent individual. Grierson says a man on the phone hired him to take out Vaughn. So whose car was seen near that outgoing payphone? Douglas Hill, the owner of Betts' rival Hill Breads. He tells Henry and Frankie Zoe was trying to force him to sell. On Zoe's new camera with the telephoto lens, they find a photo of Hill spray painting numbers on an underpass. There are more sets of numbers beneath more layers of paint. Graff figures out that the numbers correspond to past hikes in the cost of bread. He concludes Hill Bread and Best Bets have been colluding in a price-fixing scheme. All right, so let's get this out of the way. This is not a Canadian version of Law & Order. It's a Canadian version of Law & Order Criminal Intent, which is why it's Law & Order Toronto Criminal Intent, a name that rolls right off the tongue.
It's like Grey's Anatomy, New Orleans Family Burn Unit.
Family Burn Unit, that's exactly. It's perfect. Simone, it's a spin-off of a spin-off. It's the Joni Loves Chachi of police procedurals.
Yeah, and like all Canadian shows that are like a copy of an American show, it's just worse. Like
I loved it. It so much that after we watched this episode, Kevin and I watched another episode. He's like, "Do you want to watch another one?" I was like, "Yes." I loved it. I thought it was super good.
The second one wasn't as good, but it's like, okay, we'll give it a try.
I was intrigued.
I watched the first few episodes, the same thing. Like I just kept watching them. But yeah, it just seems like to me, like I always like make fun of Canadian shows that are based on American shows because they always just seem like a little bit off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like it's funny. Like I enjoyed it because I'm like, this is just kind of weird, but yeah.
It is true. There were a lot of actors who looked like more famous versions of other actors in the show. That is a thing that we also observe, which we will talk about.
Yeah. So we get that it's the Canadian version just by the intro.
In Toronto's war on crime, the worst offenders are pursued by the detectives of the Specialized Criminal Investigations Unit. These are their stories.
And like the OG Criminal Intent, this is the open mystery format, which means that we see the crime, but we follow how the detectives figure it out and try to get to the real end of it. So we whip through 9 characters in 4 minutes in different vignettes, right? So it includes Nadia Betts And somehow a group, and Nadia is like as we said, the CEO of Best Bets, the supermarket chain. And somehow a group of protesters know that she's shooting a commercial today.
At a television studio.
And they are waiting at the back door to harass her. On a weekday, a bunch of protesters get together. Like, was this on Reddit or how did this...
I mean, to her credit, she asked exactly the same question I asked. I was like, how do they know she's there? And she gets in the car and says, how'd they know I'm here? How do they know I'm here? And I was like, that's a fucking excellent question. Is she asking the writers that question? Because I had the same exact question. How did they know?
I did see some of the protesters were wearing paper bags over their head, like in protest, like with the eyes cut out. Like that's like the Grand Wizard of the construction paper clan. It's construction paper with a K, by the way. Yeah. By the way, if the price of groceries are so bad, why are those folks throwing eggs?
Yeah, I know. I thought that, like, America, there's, like, guns. There's, like, I just thought it was hilarious. It's just, like, they throw an egg.
Oh, take that, hoser. Yes, I know.
There's actually a meme floating around the internet that says, like, the biggest conflict in Canada is between 2 cell phone companies and 2 major grocery stores. And that's, like...
and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But why throw an egg, like, when there's rocks all around?
Yeah.
They're in an alley.
Because that
rocks.
would hurt, Kevin. That would hurt.
That would hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you throw an egg, that only hurts yourself.
It's true.
You're like, that was $4.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And they don't have enough money for the payphone, which apparently they still have in Canada. Who knew?
I don't know where they're finding them because I haven't seen one in years. So,
well, you got to go to the sketchy part of Toronto to find that one payphone next to the guy selling all beef hot dogs for $2.
Yes.
$2 Canadian. But we'll get into that as well. In the scene where Clayton, the private detective, is waiting in the diner and the waitress comes over and pours him a cup of black coffee, he immediately puts a spoon and stirs it. What the? It's a black coffee. And then he licks the spoon.
Yeah.
Like, the hell?
Delicious. Hey, you got to get the dirt from the bottom of the cup mixed in there. Yeah.
So this show asks the question, what would Gordon do if he were born in Ontario? And that's Henry Graff.
Mm-hmm.
Graff's conclusion that Zoe couldn't have possibly committed suicide in that lakeside park is that the view is too beautiful.
Yes.
No sign of a struggle, no robbery, pills scattered like popcorn. You might even say it looks like a suicide.
Except the view.
What about the view, Graff?
Well, a dark alley will do the job. The vista here is a little, I don't know, cinematic.
This Goren is a dandy.
I've been to that park and I've done some things there that definitely weren't wholesome. So I don't think the view is ever too good for a Torontonian.
Nice.
But Goren's interrogation technique was always sort of a little awkward and off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
So Graff tries to do that in the most Canadian way possible, which is standing up when everybody is sitting down. It's super unnerving to them. Explain, Simone, explain.
I have no explanation.
Just impolite. So they go to talk to the supermarket CEO, Nadia Betts, and they meet her at Toronto's famous landmark, Best Bets Tower.
Mm.
Why is cereal so expensive? I'll tell you why cereal is so expensive. Rent.
Yeah.
A whole tower? So, Simone, when you had family and friends visit you in Toronto, did you do a day trip to the Best Bets Tower?
No, but we went. So I think the company that they're basing this on, they actually converted our Maple Leaf Gardens into that brand of grocery store. So you can actually go shop in a hockey arena that's now a grocery store, and it still has the timekeeping thing dangling from the ceiling and cheese wheels and
jeez, that's wonderful. Go Habs. Yeah.
And we also, the same brand also owns this chain called No Frills, which is this sort of it feels very communist inside because all their private label products are bright yellow with black lettering. So it just looks kind of like you're shopping at the Dharma Project from Lost, their grocery store. And I do take friends there because they're like, what is this place? So yeah, but they own everything. They own our national drugstore chain, one of them. So I'm not surprised that the fake company based on the real company has an office tower.
So in an offhand observation that we know will be important later, Graff notices that the scarring on the bodyguard's hand...
Prison or ex-military?
Excuse me?
The scar tissue around your tattoo. Skin got infected because the tools were unclean. Did you get it in prison or is it a barracks tattoo?
Yeah, it's obviously the only possible thing that could be wrong with that hand.
Rude. So rude.
It's like, yeah. He's like, my Skyrizzi hasn't kicked in yet. What do you want with the...
Well, I know he could have had a hockey accident or an ice fishing accident.
Problems with acid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, the gap in my teeth is because I didn't wear my retainer. What of it?
I grind.
Yeah.
I forgot my night guard.
Yeah, have a seat. Have a seat, Graff. Okay, we have a couple of Hey, It's That guys.
Hey, it's that guy.
Can you tell me who is playing Canadian Goren, Detective Sergeant Henry Graff?
You mean discount Russell Crowe?
I mean discount J.D. Vance. Can you tell me?
Does look like suicide.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Killer made sure of that. Those were shoved down her throat after she was unconscious.
That's Canadian actor Aiden Young. You know him from the TV show The Disappearance, The Code, East West 101, or at least you would know that, Rebecca, if you watch Canadian television.
Yeah, I don't watch Canadian
You don't get City TV. Aiden was the lead in the Peabody Award-winning American TV series Rectify.
Okay.
He played Daniel, an exonerated death row inmate, right? Trying to put his life back together, right?
All right.
But he didn't have the really weird beard.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Young is Canadian, but grew up in Australia, which makes him someone with an interesting accent. Exclaim magazine says that he affects an over-the-top Canadian accent like he's been hanging out in Tim Hortons binge-watching Corner Gas and the Red Green Show.
That's accurate.
And Simone, what is a Tim Hortons, a Corner Gas, and a Red Green Show?
Okay, so Tim Hortons is a coffee chain like Dunkin' Donuts. It's very similar, but it's just very Canadian. They're in every town, and they're sort of in small places like the community hub, where my uncle goes there every day to chat with his buddies. And when that Tim Hortons renovated, they actually gifted him his own table that he was able to take home with him. And
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's now in his rumpus room. So I got to sit on it this summer. It was great.
Can you do the accent? Can you do like the funny accent?
Oh, like, like Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like someone was murdered here. And I'm like, really? Like, no. Like, yeah, no.
The blood on the hands. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Sorry for your loss. Yeah, I think one of the things that that Young said in an interview is that he felt like he's happy to be back in Canada, and he has that maple leaf tattooed on the inside of his skin, which is not what a tattoo is. That's actually the exact opposite of a tattoo. If it's under the skin, it's not a tattoo.
That's just gross.
Yeah.
That's just gross too. Yeah.
I dated a guy who had a maple leaf tattoo that said "Made in Canada." Nothing good came of that, so like I wouldn't brag about.
Yeah.
Where did he have that tattoo?
I think
we don't
his
want it.
Arm. Like his right here.
Which arm?
Yeah, his bicep. Made in Canada.
This was like 20 years ago.
Hey, we have a Hey, It's That Girl.
Hey, it's that girl.
Can you tell me the name of the actress playing Detective Sergeant Frankie Bateman?
I can't tell you her name, but I know what I know her from.
We found $150,000 in cash in your apartment. But do you know what we call it when the evidence is this conclusive, Sean? Neither do I, because as long as I've been doing this, I've never seen it. We're gonna have to come up with a new word.
Stupidependence.
That is Canadian actress Kathleen Monroe.
I know her as John's wife, Alice, from Patriot.
That's right, from the quirky spy dramedy Patriot. She's also had 3 American Law and Order appearances. She currently has a recurring role as Special Agent Rena Trenholm on Dick Wolf's FBI with Jeremy Sisto and Alana De La Garza.
She's doing 2 shows at the same time?
Well, this is like a 13-episode season. It's a Canadian thing. It's not like American where you got to do like 22 episodes.
Oh, it's like a British thing where you just short flights.
Exactly.
Got it.
And if you have a Crown prosecutor, you know it's only going to be a half season.
We can't afford to make 22 episodes here.
You loved her in the TV series Republic of Doyle Haven, if you're in Canada, that is. And she played opposite Jason Priestley in the comedy Call Me Fitz on HBO.
Okay.
Oh, HBO Canada. Then.
Which only cost a third as much.
It only cost a third as much. So who's portraying Deputy Crown Attorney Theo Forrester?
The case is a slam dunk. But it'll take months of accounting to prove. So for all parties involved, we like to shortcut that. I have here an offer of immunity in exchange for cooperation.
That's Canadian actor Casey Collins. You'll know him from TV shows Pretty Hard Cases, Ransom, and Saving Hope. And by you, I mean Simone, because Rebecca doesn't watch Canadian TV.
I don't even watch Canadian TV.
When we go to Canada, which we do occasionally, when we watch the TV in our room, there's like Canadian news and weather, and then it's only American TV shows. It's like SVU and like other American television shows, and then Canadian news. Like that's what it always is.
My favorite Canadian show that I see when I'm visiting in Canada is it's like Cops, but it just takes place at customs and immigration.
Yes.
And it's people coming through and they're like trying to like bring cigarettes back from someplace and they have to, it's like, oh, big drama here.
It's like Northwood's Law, but like that.
They're like, excuse me, sir, you can't bring that dried shrimp into Canada. And he's like, oh. And the weirdest thing is I travel to Mexico a lot for work. That show is always on in Mexico, too. And I'm like, why?
It's a warning.
Because in Mexico, it's adorable. That's adorable. Why.
Yeah, because it's like, they're like, I'm sorry, you won't be able to do this.
Because the shit people try to bring back from Mexico, that show is adorable there.
Yeah. All right, so Simone, I know that you recognize the actress playing Inspector Vivian Holness.
So Dougie had her killed before she could expose him. Okay. What's his dark secret? Find that. Maybe you're onto something.
I unfortunately do not know her name, but she is from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, that's Canadian actress Karen Robinson. She was Councilwoman Ronnie Lee in Schitt's Creek. She was also in Lars and The Real Girl. And she was in Canadian classic TV shows like Pretty Hard Cases, Canadian Reflections, and the Frankie Drake Mysteries.
Oh.
So for her role in Mary Kills People, she received a Canadian Screen Award, which we can all agree are the Tim Hortons of Screen Awards. Now, can you tell me the name of the actress playing the medical examiner, Lucy Da Silva?
There were 29 partially digested tablets in her stomach and 2 more lodged in her epiglottis.
Lodged as in inserted?
You called it. The damage to the palate and the throat tissue is consistent with manual insertion.
I thought Simone would know all of these. Just so you know.
Because we don't watch a lot of Canadian TV.
It's all American TV in Canada.
Who watches Canadian TV?
Well, these people do, apparently.
Yeah.
The casting director.
Who is it for?
The casting director watches Canadian TV.
If you don't watch it, who is it for? That's what I need to know.
Well, they have to produce a certain amount because we have laws that require that Canadian content be, I think, like 30% on radio and TV.
Oh.
So there has to be a certain amount.
So the actress's name is Nicola Corina de Mund. She was in the supernatural knockoff Shadowhunters and the lead in Pillow Talk, the mom in Ghost Rider, Diane in Burden of Truth, and most recently as Elena in The Boys.
Oh, my God.
Which The Boys is something that we know in America.
Yes.
Is that on Prime? Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, she was Queen Maeve's girlfriend.
Okay.
That was the role that she had. On The Boys, her character had an emergency appendectomy, but they put the scar on the wrong side.
Okay.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah. So maybe it is that Canadian medical system. They're like, they put like...
It's free.
It's free. Thanks, Obama. Yeah, I got you. All right. Did you spot the dude playing baked bread Baron Douglas Hill?
No.
Well, I do a healthy business, but I'm just a wholesaler. These guys, they're the Death Star. Wholesale, retail, distribution. And their approach to independent operators like me is to crush or devour.
He looks like a low-rent version of a Canadian celebrity, George Stroumboulopoulos. I was like, oh, it's like low-budget George Stroumboulopoulos, and he's killing people.
Okay, that's American actor. Rebecca, you really should have known that. American actor Brian Markinson. He's known to fans of the show Continuum, Shattered, and
Caprica. The Battlestar Galactica spinoff.
Yeah, right. But his highest profile role was that of Don Draper's neighbor, Dr. Arnie Rosen. His wife was played by Linda Cardellini.
Yeah.
And she was having a hot affair with Don, as usual.
Yeah.
And in 2016, he took over for Kevin Spacey in the stage version of Angels in America, which is a replacement that disappointed no one. So I'll say that these Canadian detectives do say please, thank you, and sorry way more than Americans would.
Mm-hmm.
And they are so Canadian that they say to the hitman, no, seriously, you really should remain silent.
Yeah, I was.
Honestly, Sean, that's your best move here.
No, please
But then
don't.
they keep asking him questions. I'm like, well, what's it going to be?
So, like in the opening sequence, we see that Zoe hadn't noticed that her daughter had dyed her hair purple for 2 weeks. And then Bateman finds a receipt for a new digital SLR camera, and the husband doesn't know where it is, but the daughter knows it's right in the foyer where Dad has been walking past for the past 3 weeks. So I think it's good to know that Canadian parents are just as inattentive as American parents are.
Yes. I do have a question about Zoe.
All right.
Why did she go home? Okay, so here's the whole thing.
Oh, you mean why did she stop at home instead of going?
She walks into her house. She talks to her family for 5 seconds and says, I gotta go.
It's called exposition.
Why did she go? Is that why? For us? She went home for us.
She went home for so we should be introduced to
us.
So we have to say, well, who are these people now? This is just going so fast. Slow down. Am I supposed to pay attention to the dad, to the kid, this woman? Didn't she just avoid getting hit with a fucking egg?
Why did she go home? Why? Why isn't the husband asking, why did you even come home? Did she come home for a quickie kiss? She didn't even do that. Why did she go home?
Well, it's part of Canadian culture to go places, say hi, and immediately leave within 2 minutes. No.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, it's like the Canadian version of the Irish goodbye.
The Irish hello.
Yeah.
The Irish hello. The Canadian hello.
Hello.
Irish
Run by
goodbye.
hello.
Yeah.
Damn it. I thought I learned something there for a second. Sorry.
So, of course, when Graff sees the series of photos and these spray-painted numbers, he knows exactly what shitty part of the city that is. And so the numbers have been painted over and over again, just like a Picasso.
And before he was famous, he was broke, so he reused his canvases, painted one masterpiece over another. Can you imagine? If not for reflectography, we'd never know.
So they use this process called infrared reflectography to see beneath each individual layer of paint. Question: why do they have that camera?
Also, I feel like there's an easier way to communicate than spray paint.
Is there?
Artistic graffiti. No.
You mean like sending a note?
Yeah.
Or an email in a Gmail box that you don't hit send on, like every other illicit communicator in the entire world?
Yeah, why do they need to carbon date this graffiti? Because they have the photographs on that camera of all the same things.
Yes.
Why go through this process of getting a museum quality reflectography camera? Meantime, they're laying out their whole case on a dry erase board. Budgeting priorities, people.
Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
This episode is supported by FX's Grotesquerie, a new series from executive producer Ryan Murphy. Heinous crimes unsettle a small community, and the local detective feels these atrocities are eerily personal, as if someone or something is taunting her. Starring Niecy Nash Betts, Courtney B. Vance, Leslie Manville, and Travis Kelce. FX's Grotesquerie premieres September 25th on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Now let's take a look at the second half of this episode. Graff and Bateman explained to Inspector Vivian Holness that Best Betts and Hill Breads have been gouging customers for years.
6 cents per loaf on February 21st, 8 cents on April the 9th. It's gone on for years. Douglas writes it up, somebody from the Betts side reads it, and up the prices go. If the customer complains, so what? It's inflation. What are you going to do?
It's the definition of a criminal conspiracy. Forensic accountant estimates so far it's worth $40 million.
It's bread. Can't we just have bread?
Now, if the scheme were exposed, Best Betts could absorb the fines, but it would have destroyed Hill's business. Hill denies ever meeting Zoe and doesn't have the $150K to pay a hitman. The office worker at Best Betts who logs the price of goods says that sometimes bread costs are personally tweaked by Nadia Betts, the embattled CEO and granddaughter of Best Betts founder. Henry and Frankie learned the board of directors was ready to remove Nadia and replace her with Zoe. The detectives discover Sean was recruited for the hit job by Brandon, Nadia's ex-military bodyguard. They bring together Hill and Nadia and their lawyers into the same conference room where Deputy Crown Attorney Theo Forrester promises immunity to one of them for their cooperation. Nadia takes it first. That's when Graff goes to work on Hill. He points out that Zoe had the evidence to expose the price fixing, but she sat on it. The PI was hired to investigate Nadia, not Hill. Zoe wasn't trying to destroy his business. She was focused on taking Nadia's place as CEO. That's when Hill admits that Nadia provided the hitman and gave him the money, and the cops take them both away. Well, I love the boss's reaction. It was like, Jesus fucking Christ, can't we just have bread? So Canadian, not machine guns, bread. So they accuse cash-strapped Douglas Hill of taking out a hit on Zoe, and his attorney says this.
Your premise is that Mr. Hill used money he doesn't have to hire a man he's never heard of, to kill a woman he's never met, for accusing him of doing something he didn't do. Is that about the gist of it?
Well, this is just like American Criminal Intent, isn't it?
It is.
Graff just has to go sniff something, and we're full gore in here. Yeah, could be.
Could be.
That is our theory.
I feel like Canada is really, really good when we do our own thing. But when we try and take a format, it's always just a little bit wrong. Like, Canada's Next Top Model was not good.
You're like, the next top model? Maybe the next second best model.
Canada's Bachelorette. Also not great.
She's a Canadian 10, which is a Sacramento 5. Yeah, it's like, my goodness gracious.
Ouch.
I think Canadian women are pretty good looking, especially in Toronto.
I agree. I actually agree.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Simone.
Look at Simone.
It's
beautiful. I know, right?
Yes.
There she is.
And look at those Nexian women. They were super hot.
The Nexian women were super hot. God.
I have a question for you. Can you get more STIs from a yellow pool or from that nasty ass fucking payphone next to that hot dog?
This is how you get diphtheria.
Oh. Well, I think, I don't know. I mean, you couldn't really pay me to go in either, so or use either.
And by the way, they told that hitman guy that they would be able to get like DNA from the lady's car and like be able to place him in all these places with all their advanced technology. And then when they find the payphone from which the person who called the hitman probably made the call, fake Goren just goes over and walks over to it and touches it with his own hands.
Picks up the receiver, puts it to his face.
And they don't even think like, oh, we could use DNA on this and make our whole fucking case.
Or maybe pull a fingerprint.
Doesn't
who
even
knows?
occur to them for a second. It occurred to me right away. I'm like, this would be an amazing piece of evidence. Never occurs to them at all.
I think on second thought, I'd probably roll the dice and go in the pool versus using that payphone.
Ick.
So gross.
Nadia Betts is a little dismissive of the idea that 6 cents more here, 8 cents more there is a big deal. And so Canadian Eames says this.
Yeah, you know what's really hard? Coming up short at the cash register and having to decide what goes back. The milk or the diapers.
Or in my case, the Budweiser or the Pabst Blue Ribbon. Don't judge. Don't judge, Simone. It is the king of beers.
In her case, it's the eyeliner or the bronzer. Let's just be real.
What did she put back?
That girl has her face like on fleek right now. She looks incredible.
She's got to keep it tight in Canada. So at the end, they bring their suspects together for a face-off in the conference room of truth. And so Graff does his best Goren-like explication of the case.
Ask yourself this. Zoe Vaughn had all the evidence she needed to prove the scheme, to prove your involvement in it. You saw the photo. But she sat on it. Why? Because she wasn't gunning for you.
She never intended for this to go public.
Oh, she was gunning for Miss Betts.
Fake Goren, at the very end, does this whole soliloquy to Mr. Bread.
Mr. Bread.
Was all this worth killing a, quote, vibrant young woman?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the same victim, or was there a second victim that I was not aware of?
Hey, now.
Not to be ageist, but that woman is older than me.
Older than me, I think, too.
Yeah, like she's clearly like well into her 50s. I'm like, that's just strange choice of words.
You're being very generous,
she's a career woman. Had to wait to hold off on having that baby until the Canadian government said she could. So she's behind the 8 ball and all that, yeah.
Very generous.
Very generous.
Yes. Much older, by the way, than the killer, for to whom he's saying that she's a young woman.
And he looks like what I would call like a Queen West fuckboy from Toronto. Like he has like probably plays in like 4 bands, none of which are particularly successful. Sleeps with women who are like well above his like level, but like somehow he manages to get them and they're younger. And he has like 3 girlfriends, 4 bands, or 4 girlfriends and 3 bands. And
totally.
And looks like a low rent George Stroumboulopoulos, who, if you live in Toronto, dating him is kind of like a milestone, I guess.
A rite of passage.
Rite of passage. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Gracious. My gracious. He shows Hill how he got played by Nadia, fooled into thinking Zoe was coming for him when he was really gunning for her. And that's when Bateman comes in with the coup de grace.
You're going down for murder. Zoe's gonna wear the price fixing. And Nadia, she's just gonna walk away.
You were just a man in an apron trying to sell good bread to hungry people at a fair price. Until Nadia Betts came into your life.
And now you're just stealing pennies from families desperate to make ends meet.
You're just a man standing in front of a girl, asking her to illegally hike the price of baked goods a nickel. It's the new dramatic romantic comedy about bread, Kneading Hill.
You couldn't wait for that one.
I was seeing it coming a mile away.
Good taste is easy to spot, but hard to pin down. You know it when you see it. And in today's culture, there's no greater signifier of taste than the car you drive. You want something sophisticated, but not stodgy. Daring, yet classic. Approachable, but with an air of opulence. It may sound like a rare find, because it is. And it perfectly describes the Range Rover Evoque. Drive a statement piece with pure presence. The Evoque is charisma in motion. This luxury SUV is artfully crafted and designed to stand out, and the reductive exterior is an elegant expression of Range Rover DNA. With clean lines, the minimalist design speaks for itself. The chiseled taillights give it a sense of motion. Even at standstill, you'll find quality materials and solid craftsmanship at every turn. And you can curate your interior with a variety of distinct themes and trim finishes. It's an elevated drive for elevated lives. Explore the Range Rover Evoque at LandRoverUSA.com.
You know how when you're living your life, and then all of a sudden you're out there helping cops solve crimes?
ABC Tuesdays.
I have an IQ of 160. I spot things that detectives miss.
Fall's most anticipated drama is all new, High Potential.
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
Caitlin Olsen is the new face of investigation.
You're a single mom pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential. All new Tuesdays, 10/9 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Capella University is rethinking higher education. With their game-changing FlexPath format, you can earn your degree on your schedule, so you can fit education seamlessly into your life. Imagina tu futuro de otra manera en capella.edu.
All right, let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for a Rip from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. But you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Rip from the headlines.
Now, plot points for this episode come from the scandal over the Canadian bread price fixing scheme. Instead of allowing the competitive marketplace to determine the cost, executives at 2 corporate bakeries conspired with major retailers to artificially raise their prices. Starting in 2001, Western Foods and Canada Bread increased the cost of bread by a dime every year for a decade and a half. Retailers like Walmart and Giant Tiger agreed to go along with the scheme for an additional 3 cents a loaf. They also colluded to set the price for bagels, buns, and other baked goods. It wasn't until a whistleblower at a grocery store grasped to the Canadian Competition Bureau that the jiggery pokery was revealed. Regulators interrogated many executives at the bakeries and grocery stores too, with most denying any knowledge or pointing the finger at each other for the plot. Authorities determined that from 2001 to 2015, the price of bread artificially rose 96%, costing the average household more than $400. By comparison, bread in America only went up half as much. Western Foods admitted its role in the price fix and received immunity for its cooperation. In 2023, Canada Bread paid its $50 million fine for its anti-competitive practices, the largest such fine in the country's history.
Big Cy Frater throwing shade at the Canadians. We just got this international incident here. We just got to push everybody aside.
$. Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Giant Tiger is like a name of one of your chains?
Okay, so it is. I've never seen one. And when you go on TV and there's ads, it's like they're advertising some new gadget or whatever, and they're like available at like Walmart, the Bay, Giant Tiger. I'm like, where is this store? I mean, granted, I'm only lived on the East Coast and the West Coast, so it must be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's like
you gotta go to Moose Jaw to get to Giant Tiger.
It's like how I feel about like Bob's Big Boy. Like
yes.
I never saw one in person. I know it exists.
So Galen Weston is the head of George Weston Foods, which has been in the family since 1882. And it runs several groups, several companies. One of the grocery groups is Loblaw, which I was called Loblaw.
Loblaw, like Bob's Loblaw?
Blah, blah, blah. That's how I'm going to say it, Loblaw. And as part of Loblaw's attempt to make good with the public, Loblaw, is that working when I do it like that? No. Is it getting tiresome? Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Loblaw was offering customers a gift card for $25, which is $18 American, by the way. So in total, they gave out $96 million in gift cards after making billions on Loblaw's. Let me say it again. On Loblaw's online grocery store, you can get a loaf of Dempster's white bread for $4.29. So, Simone, do 5 loaves of bread make you feel better about being scammed for 16 years?
No, absolutely not. And they also had this other PR move where they said that they've like fixed the price, like the low price on their no-name products.
Wait, fixing the price is the problem.
Yeah, I know. They're going to keep the price low on their no-name products, which are those weird yellow products with the black writing. So
Rebecca,
I'm like,
you have to know, Rebecca, that it's literally called the generic name is called No Name.
No Name?
No
Yeah.
Name, capital
No
N, capital
Name.
N. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and they've kind of like played with it a bit. Like I have a beach towel by them. It's a yellow beach towel with black writing, and it says this is a beach towel on it. No name.
Nice.
But I was like, oh, so that's how much you care about Canadians? We're just going to have to use these weird like Dharma Initiative products to be able to feed ourselves. Yeah.
Well, the Toronto Sun, you've heard of them, right, Simone? The Toronto Sun?
I write for them, yes.
Yeah. They estimate, so I guess I say, Simone, you estimate that the participants made $5 billion illegally. Walmart and Giant Tiger are still under criminal investigation.
Good.
But in July, as part of a class action settlement, blah, blah, Weston and a bunch of others agreed to pay $400 million to Canadians. Not really sure how that's going to be distributed, but if you previously took one of those gift cards, $25 will be deducted from your settlement.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I don't think Canadians are as polite as we think they are, or at least all of them.
Shut the fuck up.
So this episode came out in April, and Redditors in Canada led a month-long boycott in May of Loblaw stores, demanding a 15% price cut on all groceries. And it may surprise you that it didn't work.
I just can't believe that they were only fixing bread because like all the other stuff is like astronomical as well. So
yeah.
Oh, you think the only thing that gets fixed is bread? Oh, yeah. Children, hold on. Let me run through a list here. Here are some other known price fixing schemes. The commonality for a lot of these is that one of the participants will rat out the others in order to obtain leniency.
In using graffiti.
Using graffiti, yes, exactly. So in 2007, a 5-year scheme to fix the price of British milk and cheese cost consumers £270 million. The same year, 3 companies were fined $459 million for running a zipper cartel. They made zippers. They also were fixing the price of buttons and snaps.
Wow.
There is a gay bar in Toronto called Zippers that
they weren't different cartel, unfortunately, okay. Simone, different cartel. After colluding with each other to hike airline fuel surcharges, Virgin Atlantic just ratted out British Airways in 2006, and they were fined £120 million by the UK and $300 million by the US. Samsung and LG paid the EU $2 billion in fines for fixing the prices on 1/2 of all televisions made in the world.
What?
Procter & Gamble and Unilever admitted in 2011 to running a laundry soap cartel. In 1991, Manischewitz pled no contest to fixing the price of matzah for Passover. And in 2021, Pilgrim's Pride paid millions for fixing chicken prices. Smithfield paid for fixing pork prices. And JBS paid $50 million in 2022 for fixing beef prices. Answer this question. Why should it be so expensive?
Greed.
Greed? Oh, really?
That's it. Greed.
It's not the pandemic?
It's greed.
Yeah.
Greed. It's greed. It's always fucking greed. It's greed. And whenever, and by the way, if you're listening to me and you're an American and you're worried about how much shit costs at the store and you think it's a president's fault or a lawmaker's fault, I guarantee you it is greed's fault. I guarantee you there's price fixing going on right now. The price of gas has nothing to do with who's in office. It has to do with the oil market, period. It's greed.
It's a globally traded commodity, and your electric price is a locally regulated commodity.
And also everything is fucking greed. It's greed. So stop complaining. Stop voting on prices of things. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with it.
Simone, why should it be so expensive?
Because not every city has access to the $2 24-hour hot dog cart.
Yeah, that's the problem. There are food deserts and then there are hot dog deserts. And I do not want to live in either of those.
Yes.
No.
Oh, well, one last price-fixing scheme in 2025 in Canada. Cadbury narked on Nestle, Hershey, and Mars on collusion over chocolate. Collusion. In America, that would be called Operation Black Russian.
Not Brown Russian?
No, not Brown Russian. I don't know. Could be Brown Russian. Collusion. All right, that's going to do it for us. We want to thank our very special guest and our Canadian ambassador, Simone Paget. Simone, where can you be found?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Simone_Paget. I also have a Substack called Love, Peace, and Tacos, which kind of brings together the various things I write about. Of course, my podcast, We're Never Doing This Again, which is all about dating and just basically being a person in midlife and all that comes with that. So, yeah, that's where you can find me.
And Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
You can follow me everywhere online at Reb Lavoie.
You can track me at that place at Kevin P. Flynn. You also can tweet to us. Tweet to us at Law and Order Pod. Follow us on Instagram at These Are Their Stories Podcast, or like and subscribe on YouTube and TikTok. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Content assistance from Travis Roy. Lily Flynn handles promotions. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exemption for criticism and commentary. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are the Stories was recorded in Studio C and is a production of Partners in Crime Media.
Partners in Crime Media. Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to help you unlock your true potential. With Capella University's game-changing FlexPath learning format, you gain relevant skills you can apply to your career right away. Earn your degree from an accredited university and be confident in the quality of your education. Imagina tu futuro de otra manera en capella.edu. Capella University is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. Learn more at capella.edu/accreditation.